This morning, with youngsters, I remembered the youngsters of Kiev, Leopolis and others, who had to deal with this terrible disaster that was generated by evil individuals. And I also talk about youngsters in Moscow demonstrating against war, and they were captured in some means there, some tanks. And so I think that we need to really catch all moral resistance forms on the scene, and we must be careful about that. So I believe that many righteous exist in this scenario, and we will meet them and we will recognize them in the future. And we must, of course, think about all these people, because it will be those individuals that will take us outside of the abyss. And these are the people we must refer to. Indeed, in the history of genocide and of tragedies, there are always human beings that do miracles, and we can talk about that. So I think that this is the glance we need to have now. And I would like to thank Senator Moldrini for her proposals, for the proposals that will be presented to the Parliament. And I can tell you what Gariwo will do, because we have created a national pathway and an international pathway that has taken two individuals as a reference, two individuals who have left a trace in the 20th century. One was Moshe Besky, and I am honored because today we have somebody who worked with him for 25 years, Mr. Paldiel of the Department of the Righteous of Yad Vashem. So Moshe Besky had an insight that we needed to remove from oblivion of history all those who had taken a responsibility vis-a-vis of Shoah, of the Holocaust. But he said something more. We always need to identify those who, in dark times of humanity, do something. And when Moshe Besky talked about the righteous, dealt with a topic that should be surveyed even more, because the righteous are not saints, they are human beings. They made a choice, a decision. So you can become righteous because you have made a choice, a decision, not because you are a saint and you want to, of course, give up everything. But you do that because at a certain point you take responsibility. And when one talks about the righteous, one needs to talk about the possibility of prevention of evil, because evil can be prevented when there is a responsibility of human rights. And so, regarding Moshe Besky, we decided to create these gardens of the righteous, and this was born in Europe and now also in Italy. We are proposing that to other countries, and we have talked about the possibility of having the Day of the Righteous also in Greece with the mayor of Saloniki, and we are now working for the Garden of the Righteous in Rwanda and also in the ghetto of Warsaw. So the sense of all these gardens is to try and give human beings some moral examples so that human beings can take their responsibility. So by telling the stories of the righteous, you can explain to youngsters and to citizens how that it's possible to act against evil. And this is a very important point in our ideology. And the second one is a link, the link with an extraordinary uh, intuition, insight of a man. We have honored him at Milan Garden. Raphael Lemkin, after the Holocaust and after his family was destroyed, after he had fled to the States and tried to persuade to turn the Second World War into a fight to defend Jews. So when he went to see, he decided to write a letter to be sent to Roosevelt, and Roosevelt told him, be patient, something will be done, so be patient. And of course, he could not be patient after leaving Poland. But after the destruction of his people, because he was a Polish Jew, what did he do? Well, he managed to have the UN approving a new moral commandment, because the word genocide did not exist. The hybrid genus from Greek, side, from Latin, is something he invented, and he did that. And he managed to persuade every head of state, minister, to vote this resolution, UN resolution in 1948, that to call humanity to prevent genocide. And so in one of the several discussions and exchange moments at the UN, Raphael Lemkin said, when some people are subject to genocide, what will happen is not important. They are not interested in having victims remembered. People who are subject to genocide want to prevent that, because the idea of prevention is very important. And this is the great teaching. I do believe that it's really important to remember. We do that every day in schools with youngsters. But what is the important moment for victims is that you can prevent, become the cultural tool of the UN Convention on genocide prevention. So what are the guardians of the righteous for? They can warn human beings on evil. And in my opinion, this is our task. This is our job. We have to make it possible for this moral commandment of human beings is not an empty word. Unfortunately, we can talk about failures, and we heard Mrs. Boldrini talk about what happened in other countries, in Cambodia, in Darfur, and in other places, including Rwanda, and of course, getting to present days, we don't know what will happen. So we have to imagine that the gardens we build, because in the gardens we can find the fight against hatred, education of youngsters, the possibility to have moral individuals being known. These gardens are not a place for remembrance. They are a place for society for genocide prevention. And this is the message that we are trying to convey. And we are a foundation with some people who are passionate, who tried to trigger this sparkle. This is the 10th European Day of the Righteous. But let me say that this is only the beginning. I would like for our country and for Italy and for the European Union to actually accept this message that we are building, because we aim at creating some material possibilities within society so that society is aware of genocides and can be activated. So these are the gardens, and this is a dream. But let me make a reference to Raphael Lemkin and Antigone. When Antigone wanted to, of course, help her brother, she said, I will act based on unwritten rules of gods. She wanted to bury her brother. And so this moral law could exist in the world. So what did Lemkin say? If a minority could be considered, they will resort to this, of course, international law. So if one goes against the right of human beings in a country, and if one goes against morality, what can citizens do? They can refer to such international laws, and this means that one has to disobey some orders and some unfair laws in a country and not universal principles. This is our goal. At an international level, there must be an opportunity to in a place, so we need to live in a place where human rights are not violated. And so the idea of Antigone was really important. We can indeed make reference to the UN Convention, and there are some important issues that have been, of course, examined and reflected upon throughout the years, and Lemkin had to make a compromise when he submitted this bill to the United Nations with some cultural reference, with references to some political parties. So this is the highest expression of international responsibility after Shoah, because this means this one. So we need to have an international community following a moral law accepted by all nations. And such moral law always commits individuals to fight against genocide. Thank you.